How do you top your love for your cat? With a cascade of decadent savory gravy over a mouth-watering mousse pâté. Fancy Feast gems. 2 gourmet pâtés in one convenient pack. Simply peel and plate to reveal a pyramid shape that makes eating delightful and pamper her with an experience as extraordinary as she is. Turn the everyday into the extraordinary with Fancy Feast gems.
This episode is brought to you by Indeed. When your computer breaks, you don't wait for it to magically start working again. You fix the problem. So why wait to hire the people your company desperately needs? Use Indeed's sponsored jobs to hire top talent fast. And even better, you only pay for results. There's no need to wait. Speed up your hiring with a $75 sponsored job credit at Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply.
Wish you could become a morning person? You know the type, up before the sun, early morning runs, first one to the office with donuts and a smile. How do they do it? Easy. With the new Galaxy Watch 8, sleep tracking and personalized insights from Samsung Health help you improve so you can wake up to a whole new you. One who, dare I say it, skips the snooze? It's possible. Train your sleep with Galaxy Watch 8. Learn more at Samsung.com. Requires compatible Samsung Galaxy phone, Samsung Health app, and Samsung account.
Welcome to Book Talk for Book Talk with Jack and Amy, a literary podcast where we deep dive into the writings of your favorite novels. This autumnish, we are hosting a book club while we prepare our 10-part literary analysis of Sarah J. Maas's Heir of Fire. This is Jack.
And I'm Amy, and each week we'll discuss one book from our autumnish book club roster. By using our literary background, we'll provide our flash analysis of each book, as well as discuss listener thoughts.
This week, we're discussing Blood Over Bright Haven by M.L. Wang.
The views expressed by the hosts are entirely their own and in no way represent the thoughts or intentions of the original author. This podcast is a discussion shared to spark thought and conversation on the characters and themes of this novel. The interpretations presented in this podcast are just a few of many possibilities. Listeners are encouraged to read along and share their own analysis of the text.
Though the hosts speak mostly within the constraints of this book, series spoilers may be discussed with or without warning. Explicit language, as well as themes of sex, violence, abuse, depression, self-harm, and death will recur throughout this podcast. Listener discretion is advised. If you're enjoying the podcast, check out our Patreon for more exclusive content. You can find us at patreon.com/booktalkforbooktalk. All right, so this is a special episode because I think this is the latest we've ever recorded.
Yeah, probably.
7:45 p.m.
And we don't know if it's going to be a long or short episode.
We will never know until we're done.
Mm-hmm. Oh, hindsight.
Well, we've been excited for this one, too.
I know, which is why I'm bummed we've put it off for so long. But, life happens, and that's okay. And dates. And
oh, yeah. Amy outed me. I went on a date. It was a good one.
Woo!
Amy was the best supportive friend of... I didn't even ask for the day off. I was like, oh, well, I'll go after. And you're like, no, you're going on this date. We're making sure. Yeah.
And you know what? It's a good thing I gave you all the time in the world.
Truly. Yeah. So Amy was a wonderful friend, and then I got food poisoning, and now we're here.
Now we're here.
I'm sure once we start reading people's comments, we will feel the fire of many passions.
Yes, many, many, many passions. I have a lot of passion for this book, so I think we need to start.
Hands up, tits up.
If you don't like Siona, you don't like me.
Exclamation point.
Yeah.
Damn. Thank God I really liked Siona. Surprisingly more relatable.
You can do a different 10 words. You don't have to.
Surprisingly more relatable than anyone would give her credit for.
Yes. I'm already getting goosebumps. Okay, I am fired up to talk about this book. I think this has been the most honest look at humanity,
Mm-hmm.
a woman's place and an immigrant's place
Mm-hmm.
in that society.
Yep.
And, there's a reason why it's so similar to Victorian England and the early 1900s in the United States. It felt very Downton Abbey.
Yeah, I can see that.
The era, there's magic that is really just computer coding.
Yep.
Like, there's so many things that are so brilliant about this book. It makes me angry because ML Wang is a genius. And I can see why people would dislike it because it makes them uncomfortable.
Yeah, I think that there's no way of reading this book and not feeling uncomfortable because there are many times when it comes to who has it worse, right? Like the
Mhm.
idea of who has it worse. And I have gotten into discussions with white women when they say, I've been discriminated against. And I say, yeah, you have been to a point. It ends at woman, and it doesn't mean that it's not hard, and it doesn't mean you haven't gone through discrimination, but it also means you haven't been discriminated against as a person of color, or in the case of this series, an immigrant.
Right. Or a woman of color.
Or a woman of color, right? Even more so a woman of color, right? Like they get discriminated 10 times more. So I think that there's no comfortable way of reading this without having a mirror put to your face in one way, shape, form, or another.
Yep. And if not you specifically, someone someone that is dear to you, like just look at Siona and her mentor.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot going on there that is bound to make somebody
Wait,
uncomfortable.
I just realized the daddy issues that she's putting on her mentor and
Yep.
wanting to feel validated from him.
Yep. Not wanting to disappoint him.
You good? That's
I'm fine because I was very cognizant of
yeah.
I am Siona.
Our friend Randall was asking, his friend is sending him the book because they told him that he has to read it. He was
Yeah.
like, what'd you think about it? And I was like, it's great. If Amy didn't have a conscience or like was just like very self-centered.
If I was a sociopath.
Yeah. Well then, okay, so let's talk about this.
Well, yeah, she's not a sociopath.
She is someone who was raised to not think about anyone other than herself.
Yes.
And I mean that in a way that her family put her above themselves. So genuinely, she has only ever been raised to think about herself. She's been raised to think about how she's going to have it harder than anyone else, the way that she has to work 10 times as hard, the way she's been discriminated against. Like the world is made for her to have to think about herself. And she's also selfishly only ever thought about herself. Does that make someone a sociopath? Not really.
Not really. So there was such interesting commentary about the family dynamics in this novel. So let's focus on cousin Elba, Aunt Winnie, and Siona. To your point, Elba and Winnie have created a space for Siona to excel as a woman, to do things no other woman has ever done before. They want to support her. They love her. They want her to achieve because they know she's brilliant. And yet, never once do they really make a conscious effort to challenge her selfishness, right? They have built a life where they enable her selfishness and then get mad at her for being selfish when they did nothing to train the selfishness out of her. Like, there's an obligation within family dynamics to teach children these things. And Siona was never taught those things.
You know, another way of also looking at it is you can't get mad at someone for not knowing that you're resenting them.
If you never communicate it.
If you've never communicated. If the person doesn't know that you're mad or why you're mad or anything else, it's not up to them to figure it out. Siona lived her life thinking that everything was working out. Like, why would she think that there was anything wrong? No one, they've only ever been there for her. They've only ever supported her, hyped her up, made reasons. I don't want to go and victim blame here. And that's the other thing, is that they're not perfect victims either. They have a lot of issues within themselves. They discriminate. They come at the end failing society. And that's what I love about it, like that there is no perfect victim. And just like Siona is not, and just like her aunt and cousin are not, they are a victim of their own making, but don't feel sorry for them either.
Yeah, absolutely. I actually don't have a lot of empathy for Elba and Winnie. I really
I
don't.
have none.
And it's not because I favor Siona over them. It's because at no point did they ever prioritize themselves in a way that taught Siona how to interact with people in
Yeah.
a respectful manner. They never challenged her. And that is for them to own. That is not for Siona to own.
Also, there's evidence to show that they liked the attention she brought.
Yeah.
They liked that she was a mage. They liked that she was so successful and kids were asking her to, sign their
Mhm.
book. It comes with prestige.
Yeah.
They get to be a part of that prestige because they helped her get there. And
And it's a double-edged sword.
it is a double-edged sword. You created this monster who only thinks, and I don't think Sion is a monster, but, for the sake of, you've created this beast and you don't get to be surprised when
Mhm.
they are a product of your own making.
Yeah, exactly. And that leads me into like one of the really fantastic themes of this book is consequences of your actions, and are you going to take accountability for it? And
Yeah.
what is so amazing about this book is that the journey is about a woman who has not been taught empathy, who lives in a world where she is emulating men who don't
Yeah.
take accountability, and she learns and wants to become a good person who owns their actions.
She tries so hard and fails to the end. And
Every time. Yeah.
every time. And I think this is another example of intentions doesn't mean anything if you're still not thinking about yourself or willfully listening to the people around you. Because that's
Mhm.
the other beautiful part of this is that she's continues like not Tommy,
Tommel.
Tommel. Tommel keeps warning her. So
Mhm.
it's not like she doesn't have a sounding board here, but even in her own altruism, it's still surrounded by selfishness.
Yeah, it is, and it's beautiful that she comes to recognize that.
Yeah.
I think her ability by the end to recognize the ugliness within herself
Mhm.
and her willingness to take accountability for the ugliness and the pain that it's caused,
Yeah.
there's no one else in this narrative who does that.
No, and that's her redemption.
Yeah.
Her redemption came to the very bitter end. She really had to die. There was no coming back from what she
Mm-mm.
did. Everyone can see like where the blight is coming from, where the magic's coming from, and all the Quinn started revolting. There was no coming back from that for her.
Nope.
There was no redemption for her. She ignored Tommel. She did something that she thought would be right. She made a gamble and was wrong.
Yeah.
And she made a gamble that was centered around herself.
Yeah.
And there is no way that a character could forgive herself or anyone could forgive her after that.
Yeah, because of the trauma, right?
Yeah.
And this goes back to the conversation that Tommel and Siona have partway through about her god versus their gods,
Yeah.
right? Where what makes a good person is viewed so differently. Is it intention or is it consequence? Is it because you had good intentions or is it because there were good consequences?
So heavy.
And I loved the conversation. I loved the concept and I love navigating that because it is very much a Western versus Eastern philosophy. It is very much a Western religion versus Eastern religion
Yeah.
philosophies because fundamentally it
Mhm.
is about what can I do to receive redemption versus what can I do to benefit the people around me.
Yeah.
And those are the differences between East and West.
And at the end of the day, even Tommel kind of had to realize there's a combination of the two, right? Like you have to have good intentions. However, if someone makes the worst choices and they accidentally make good intentions, like that can't count for something,
Right.
and if someone has good intentions but keeps screwing up, like Sayona, Can you forgive what she did? Not really. Like the time where she let everyone see what was happening and the Quinn are now revolting and she didn't think about it and she didn't think how they would be treated afterwards. No, like your intentions are not good enough to redeem yourself.
Right. The funny thing is, I was on board with everything she was thinking the entire time because I was very aligned with Sienna, her experience, her upbringing, how
Yeah.
she saw the world, how she saw her place in the world. And I was like, yeah, that makes sense. Like, these people need to be exposed.
Yeah.
But in the process, you're also causing trauma
Yeah.
to people who did not ask for it.
Mm-hmm.
And do you have a right to cause that much trauma and pain for the sake of truth?
And you're only doing the sake of truth because you learned it and now everyone else has to learn it too.
And you can't cope with the pain.
Yeah. Like you're not coming up with a campaign. You're not
Mhm.
trying to dismantle a system. That's not what it's about. It's about, I can't handle the pain. Everyone else needs to suffer too. And not only are you re-traumatizing the Quinn who had to come here and they're now seeing how all their family died. Now you're traumatizing the rest of people who had nothing to do with this. And I think we can relate to that. Now, someone might be listening to this being like, yeah, that sounds horrible, but you can't really relate. The amount of times I've seen things online that I have not asked for. I have seen people murdered online, not because I wanted to. It played.
Yeah.
And that is the equivalent. So in many ways, right? Like imagine seeing scenes of murder, of grotesque murder, because they're all exploding, right? Playing all around you. And not that I don't want to learn. I want to learn. I want to be able to help. The trauma that would cause to see,
Mhm.
that is horrible.
Yeah. It makes me think of when there were those people who on YouTube would show the videos of them stomping on things, and one was like a live kitten. I have never seen it, but when someone I'm sorry, I'm doing to you what was done to me
Yeah, yeah.
where I talked about it. Someone talked about it to me and I've never gone to look for it. I don't want to look
No,
for it.
but you know it. But
I
you can imagine it.
regularly think about it.
Yeah.
I regularly imagine it and it bums me out like to the point I can't function on a regular basis.
I mean, and that's the constant debate, right? Is do we get to live our life in ignorance or is there an epidemic of things going on, right? And you can talk about that with the way that children are abused, the human trafficking, right? Like we know that there is a thing happening, but I don't want to see. I can't see, but I want to help, but at the same time in this community, it's not like people they don't see. That's the other thing, right? Is that they can't see it and they don't know that they're what they're trying to help. And all she's thinking about is her community and not at all about the Quinn. Not even in the slightest. Like
Yeah.
not only is her community going to be traumatized, but it's not about them. It's about the Quinn. And now you're putting a big screen TV of saying, oh, by the way, this is how your family died and this is why they died for that.
Yeah. And this is how, even though all these people are ignorant, everything they've done throughout their entire lives, just going about their day,
Yep.
is the reason why you watched these gruesome acts happen to your family.
Yep.
That the blight exists, that you had to leave your hometown, that you're immigrants, right? That you've come to a place that treats you as lesser than animals. Like
Yep.
at one point they get called beasts of burden.
Yeah.
And that's why Quinn women don't have rights because they are no better than beasts of burden.
Yeah.
That killed me.
Yeah.
There's so much we could talk about.
I mean, just the constant moral debate. And I think that's one of the things that I would like to point out that not that I forgot her name, not Sloan.
Siona.
Thank you. I think one of the things that people struggle with Siona is the fact that she's a woman and she has the worst moral compass that you possibly can ask for, right? She just keeps screwing up every twist and turn. And I think it had to be a woman because it makes the reader so much more harsh on her.
Right. And so much more uncomfortable.
Yeah.
right? Because how many people read about Renthorn and it's just like, oh, it's just a petty rivalry.
Mhm.
And then you're like, oh, he tried to assault her. Yeah,
Yeah.
he's not a good guy. And yeah, he's a little crazed about like how people are dying, but they still hate Siona more than him.
Yep. People expect horrible men.
Mm-hmm.
People can't understand horrible women. And that's the other thing is what I also don't think that people really don't understand are women who aren't horrible. They just make horrible choices. Because at the end of the day, Siona's not a horrible person. Like, she's not good, but she was willing to learn and to grow. And like, she eventually kind of got there, but you can't look at her and say that she's a horrible person.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think people know how to cope with that, right? Like,
Yeah.
it's not easy to say, well, she's forgiven. Here she is finally coming to the realization, and now they're going to walk into the sunset and she's going to fix it. Nope,
No.
not this book.
So I want to back up from the last sequence of her actions
Okay.
because let's just focus on the first half of the book. She's a driven woman. She's achieved this thing that no other woman has achieved. She's trying to make it in a man's world, and nobody is giving her the credit for that.
Yeah.
Do people still dislike Siona in that time frame? And I'm going to guess yes.
Oh, yeah.
And by people, I mean readers, not because obviously people in her world don't like being challenged
Yeah. Yeah.
and don't like people questioning their place. And if you don't even like Siona before we get to the climax of the book,
Yeah. You're really not going to like Siona.
well, it's not even that. Is that to me is a clear sign of inherent misogyny. It just is because
Yeah.
she is no different
Mm-hmm.
than any driven man.
Truly no different. And those men suck. And she sucks. And that's okay. Because at that point, her being driven, now not knowing what we know, right, before the mystery happens, her being driven isn't hurting anyone.
Nope.
She's just a driven woman who doesn't think about husband, kids, and just wants to achieve and is willing to be direct, be a little she's not even cutthroat. She's just determined.
She's just assertive.
Yeah.
And the only people she's hurting
Mm-hmm.
are her aunt and cousin who don't communicate what they feel.
Yeah.
So how can she be held responsible for that?
She can't. She can't. I mean, and that's the thing where she is a product of her environment in the first half.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, a bit inspirational. And the other half of it is I think people probably feel uncomfortable with the fact that she knows how much is on the line and how much history she's changing. There is also a certain amount of awareness, like she's not a very aware person, but there's a certain, when it comes to the things about her, she is aware that she'd be the first woman in this position. She is aware that that's going to be held to a much higher standard and men are going to be working against her. No, she is aware of these things. And she also is aware that she's better than all them.
Yeah.
None of those make her bad.
Yes.
I think it comes from a place where you and I are two very driven women. I made a new friend and her and I were talking and she was saying that she's looking for a job where she can kind of like, that's my job. I want my own life to do my own thing. I don't want to think about it. Versus you and I are very much, if my job isn't my passion, I need my job to be my passion. We wouldn't be working on this podcast if we didn't have drive and passion. Now, drive does not mean it's better than anyone else. Like,
Right.
There are days I wished I was an accountant and I was like, could live my life and just do other things, right? But I don't think the world is necessarily built for driven women. And it's hard it was like watching Taylor Swift when she was on the New Heights podcast. And she is one of the most driven women in history. And seeing the way that Travis stares at her just absolutely in awe and so inspired and probably turned on by how driven she is, that's something that I relate to. And that was something like I had fears where I'm like, will any guy want me because I'm driven? And I think that is something where it might make people uncomfortable because driven doesn't mean bad. It doesn't mean anyone's better. I just don't think people are fully comfortable seeing what drive is in a woman.
Yeah. And what it looks like in general. Because if you are
Yeah.
not driven at the same level, it's intimidating.
Yeah. I mean, this is a little peek behind the curtain, but we work our ass off for this podcast. And I know our listeners know that and appreciate it, but it's not all sitting here and talking. Like, this is the easy part, right? Like, we get to talk and stuff, but everything else that goes behind it, it's, we are hustling. We talk several times throughout the week, just planning the next 3 months, just trying to figure out what we're doing and making sure our lives we can still have a life around it and
do full-time jobs.
have full-time jobs
And start a second business. And write books.
and then you being engaged and me, newness and and like being like, I think people hear the term driven and they don't see it. Like, they don't see what that means. And there is no spontaneity between the two of us. We are scheduled, packed for the next 2 months. I can tell you what I'm doing, a Sunday, 5 Sundays from now, right? Like,
Yeah, the only spontaneity we have is canceling plans.
and even then, it's only because, like, we're sick or a date, like,
Yeah.
But now, even with the date, it's like, all right, I need to plan ahead accordingly because now I need to, we're going into like birthday season and stuff. So I think people and readers and life and society hear the term drive, but they're not used to seeing what drive looks like.
Yeah.
And I think Siona is a great example that drive and driven is not a pretty thing. And you cannot be driven with a lot of ego behind you thinking you can get it done.
Right, exactly. And, I'm going to say something and I don't know if I believe it.
Okay, all right.
Drive is a disease of the mind and you can't get rid of it.
Yes. Yes. That is the best way of saying that. Yes.
I go through periods where I don't want it.
Yeah, completely.
I just don't want it, but it is a compulsion
Yeah.
I cannot get rid of. And you can see that in Siona. She forgets to eat. She
Yep.
works on her spells all night. Like, I understand that. Have
Yeah.
I worked on a spreadsheet from 10 p.m. until 7 a.m. in the morning?
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I'm not going to admit the truth of that.
Yeah, I think that's honestly, that's going to haunt me. I want it on bumper stickers. I want it on a shirt. It is a compulsion of the brain, and it is call it what you want. Type B, type D. It doesn't matter. I don't think it's a type thing. I think it really is this like neurotic thing. And I will also go behind and agree of saying like, or add on, it comes with ego because you can accomplish it, right? There's a difference between like, oh, I think I can do something versus I'm going to take that first step because I have enough ego behind me to say, well, I can do it.
Yeah.
Or I'll at least try. You know what I mean? I can at least give this a try. And I think there's a glamorization behind someone who's driven and behind like, wow, you're so behind it. But if I didn't have the podcast, I would be driven somewhere else. There's no world where I would not have been starting my own marketing agency, gone freelance, started my own thing, right? Like there was no world where you and I are not driven.
I remember you being 23 and talking about all the apps you were going to develop and the people you were talking to make them happen.
Yes, like it was always going to happen. It is a compulsion and there's a lot of things behind it. And yeah, I will double down. People know the words, they don't see the actions. And Siona is a perfect example of actions behind it.
The good and the bad.
The good and the freaking bad. Yeah. If we had been raised more selfishly, if we didn't have each other to humble one another, but like if we were raised more selfishly, I think that it wouldn't be far. There's a lot of things that she said that made me think of you and I thought was really funny. I think this could be any woman who is driven. And if they were just raised to be a little bit more selfish, they could have been a Siona too.
Yeah, I agree. And, I keep stumbling on the fact that men are taught to be driven.
Yep.
And selfish because that's what makes them successful.
Yep.
Women are not taught to be driven and taught to not be selfish And to do either of those things makes you a bad person.
Yeah. I mean, being bossy. You can't be bossy. You're being assertive. What's wrong with being assertive? Saying what you want people to do. You know what I mean? Like little girls are being told that they're bossy. You never hear boys being told that they're bossy.
Yep. It's so true.
And then here we are, you and I, grown to be loudmouth women.
I recently received the biggest compliment. I was in a meeting with an older gentleman who's probably retired already. He retired from the army. He was a general. He
Yeah.
now works as a vice president of like construction and facilities management, blah, 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 blah. Anyway, we worked together on a team. And I told him how I ran my mouth in a meeting that he wasn't in. And he's like, you know what, Amy, one of my favorite things about you is you will say what you're thinking. I was like, oh, thanks. Thanks, Chris. I'm glad you feel that way.
I feel like what I'm realizing is that the world only doesn't like it if you're not looking for the people who like it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm realizing that too, of, trying to make things very clear of saying, I can be a bitch, I can be loud, I can be assertive. And rather than saying that as a warning sign, having it be embraced as a good, you stand up for yourself. Good, you have a backbone.
Right. It is about framing.
It is. It is.
It's about how are we taught to view the people who speak up?
Yeah.
Are we taught to view them as being like they should be ashamed? They're embarrassing themselves. They're embarrassing the people around them.
Mm-hmm.
They don't know what they're talking about. They shouldn't challenge authority. They need to sit down and shut up.
Yeah.
Or, they're so brave. They're so courageous. They're speaking up. I'm glad they're saying something,
Yeah.
et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
And there's going to be both sides, but the one that's loudest is usually the ones that tell them to shut up.
Yep.
Not the ones that say keep going.
It's funny because we can sit here and wax poetics about Siona and just be like, she's an example of being just like the men, of the product of her environment, of people not feeling comfortable with what a driven woman looks like. But what ML Wang does fantastically is the fact that you then introduce race into it. And suddenly she is just as flawed as not just the men, but her society.
Yes. There were so many layers to this between sexism,
Yeah.
racism, the religiosity, and the divide between the religious sects.
Yeah.
I was so masterful.
Yes.
And the layers of history that I feel like she wove into it as well, that so closely align with Western history.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I don't know how long it took her to write this book. I hope it took her 10 years because, if it took her any less than that, she's a genius.
Yeah. I'm going to need to look that up now. I'm going to say a thought before I forget, and it kind of is derailing this, but I just think that we keep talking about some books that we've read this season and other seasons too, where if you have to have an appendix at the very front of the book and you have to break it down of what is happening, I don't want it. I don't know what it was like with the physical book, but I can tell you with the audio book, the appendix, and they just call it a pocket guide.
Yeah.
That's at the very end. I did not need that. I learned as I went. And I just want to give more props in how masterfully well done it was, where it's like, if you need a better understanding, it's there. But she does not rely on it.
Yes, absolutely. And quite frankly, I didn't even finish listening to the pocket guide because I was like,
No.
I know all this.
I know. I was like, oh, this is an appendix. That's all this is. I don't need to listen to this then. Yeah. I hope it didn't end with, and she's alive, but
no, I'm sure it didn't.
But yeah, it's just like we were talking about, you're saying that if this didn't take 10 years, I'll be surprised. And I just want to give more props to ML Wang of saying, damn, this is the thing that we keep saying. Don't like books doing this. You're relying too much on this. And I just want to give an example of saying, and this is when it's done well.
So well. And it's a very complex world.
So complex.
It's magic like we've never seen it. It's technology like we've never seen it.
Yeah. It's religion. It's systems. Yeah.
Yeah. Completely different religions. It's different systems. It's different races. But it all makes sense.
You get there. And
Mm-hmm.
I also didn't have the moment where sometimes when I'm reading a book, I just kind of start and I go, you know what? I think around page 100, I'll understand what's happening.
Yeah.
I got it. And she also didn't info dump. Like, I can't
Mhm.
wait to one day read this and just figure out what she did. Of how did you introduce? I mean, actually, I do know exactly what she did. She was doing the testing, was early chapters, and
Mhm.
her cousin was there, and she's explaining it to her cousin. So here
Yeah.
you are explaining the world in a very simple way, but she doesn't explain the whole world,
Yeah.
just the test. And then from there, you're able to learn as it goes. And then even from her, then Sayona has to teach Tamil. So you
Mhm.
actually are introducing the world as you go.
Mhm.
And that's how you get it done very well, but it makes sense for the plot.
And it makes sense for the plot. If it was not an intrinsic part of the plot,
Yeah,
it would be info dumping and it would not be necessary.
exactly.
I figured out what the blight was
Oh,
before the test was over.
damn. The first, like the very, very first test?
Mhm.
How? Good for you.
As soon as she described the completion of the spell and the light, I was like, that's it. That's blight.
Good job.
Thanks.
I was so busy being impressed that we got a Tommel and his family, and I was emotionally connected to them so quickly.
Mhm.
Sad when they died, and I was so busy thinking, damn, how did you do that?
Yeah. So let's talk about Tommel.
Love Tommel.
Actually, let's take a sip.
Okay. Love water. Grab a snack, stretch your legs, and listen to this while we plot our next move. I am so excited to enter my loafer era with my Uptown loafer from Vionic. Literally, this is every girl's autumn dream shoe.
I've invested in Vionic's Winnie sneaker, which is the perfect timeless item that you can wear with your streetwear, but I also wear it going to the office.
Every time I Google what the cool girl sneaker is, the Walk Slim Glide is always the first one that pops up. I think I might actually have to get that one next.
The shopping experience is so easy. The pictures online are so great. You know exactly what you're getting into. And honestly, I have to use the size guide, and the size guide was spot on.
My Vionic Uptown loafer might be the most comfortable pair of shoes I own, which means I will be walking more this fall.
With my Winnie sneakers, they are so easy to wear all day. I don't struggle with foot pain the way that I do in other shoes.
And you in particular, if you have a bad shoe, it ruins your entire body.
And Jack knows it.
I have to live with those complaints. But you know what I haven't been hearing? Any complaints with Vionic.
They even offer a 30-day guarantee. Wear them, love them, or return them for a full refund within 30 days.
I am keeping those shoes. I will be ordering 5 more, please.
100%. Use code BookTalk at checkout for 15% off your entire order at vionicshoes.com when you log into your account.
It's a one-time use only, so make sure you head over to vionicshoes.com and use BookTalk, BookTalk, at checkout for 15% off your entire order.
Vionic Shoes, wearable well-being for your feet. I identified with Tommel too. Just like the care he has for his niece, the guilt he feels over the way he's raised her, the lack of her parents,
Yeah,
what she's missed out that he remembers.
yeah.
I really feel for that as a person who helped raise their siblings, who
Mhm.
was able to live a life with my parents married and
Yeah.
versus my sisters who never really experienced that
Mhm.
and what it means to be quote unquote complete family versus a
Yeah.
broken family. That's not how I view my family, but that's how society views my family.
Yep.
So it is a sad story. My mom and my youngest sister, who don't get along, had a heart to heart the other day. My mom was telling me about it. And apparently, because of the way my siblings went back and forth between China and America living with my parents,
Mhm.
my sister spent like the first 12 years of her life not understanding my mom was her mom.
Oh, no.
And
Oh.
she was just like, that's just some lady that I kind of live with sometimes.
Yeah. I mean, to give more context, your parents had separated at that point.
My parents were divorced. The day my sister was adopted, at the age of 2 or 3 was the day my mother told me she was divorcing my father.
Yeah, I just want to give more context of like the flying back to America and China
Yeah,
thing.
yes.
Yeah, but that makes sense. Like that's just someone that they see part of the year.
And so for me, as the firstborn who lived with my parents basically as long as they were, almost as long as they were married, because I was a honeymoon baby,
Yeah.
you know, she's really missed out on a childhood that I cherish.
Yeah.
And it makes me really sad for her. And I can see that between Tommel and Kira, right?
Yeah.
That Tommel experienced a life in his clan with traditions that, he's a poor substitute for teaching that.
Mm-hmm.
And he can't pass that on. And I don't understand the pain because that's not my experience, but I understand the struggle
Yeah.
that you had a richness in life that your sibling will never have or your
Yeah.
niece will never have.
It's hard. It's hard. It's heavy. And then you have that added layer of they came to this, what's supposed to be the better world.
Mm-hmm.
They came to this town, this city to be, this is where you go to be better. And it just reminds me so many times of people coming to America thinking they're going to live the American dream.
Mm-hmm.
And so often it's like, nope, you're not coming here to live the American dream. You're going to come here, be discriminated against daily, absolutely disregarded, and we're going to expect you to work the worst jobs ever and be grateful about it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's shameful.
And still pay taxes
And still pay taxes.
even though we treat you like shit.
Sorry, real fast. The fact that people don't understand that people who are illegal in America pay taxes blows my mind, where I'm like, you guys realize that they're paying taxes, right?
Yeah.
And if you're just now realizing that, have fun on that little rabbit hole.
Mm-hmm.
But the Quinn immigrants are expected to do so much and then be grateful. And the way that the other citizens who live there talked about them, saying like their little Quinn mind wouldn't understand it. Oh, like these Quinns they're normal
Barbarians.
barbarians. That's just where they're from. That's where they are. They're cannibals,
Yeah.
And
that we would never sterilize our women, but it's okay to cause chemical harm
yep.
to these other beings because they are not human.
And because they breed.
Yes, they breed like rabbits, and we have to curtail that. Like, whew, like from a Marxist lens, viewing how demeaning it was to be Quinn. What I like about how ML Wang handled it, it was not about skin color, it was about hair color.
Yeah.
And, if you live in a society where hair color is varied, it's hard to understand a society where everyone's hair color is the same.
Yeah.
Right. And I'm not saying that doesn't exist. Obviously, it does in our world. But for us in America, where
not in LA, there's no, I mean, other than blonde, who dyed blonde, as I stare at my roots. Yeah.
Right. And there's a lot of bottle blondes. But, there's just, you don't know what genetics is going to bring you. So,
yeah. What I like about it is that, and I don't know if this is the message that ML Wang wanted us to take, or I don't know if this is a message other people have to take from it. But was Siona horribly discriminated against? Yes. Was that discrimination as bad as the Quinn? No.
mm-hmm.
No, it was not.
Yep.
She still got to live within privilege. You are discriminated against, but within the box of privilege.
Yep.
And I felt like that was a clear-cut message.
Yeah.
Where it doesn't Siona had an uphill battle. She has a glass ceiling. She was going to be judged. She was almost assaulted. All within the box of privilege. Mm-hmm. She got to go to school. She doesn't Tommel's niece wasn't able to go to school. She has to go be a chimney sweep.
She has to dress like a boy.
She has to dress like a boy to survive. There's Tommel's lucky for being a janitor and is trying to stay quiet and cower, even though that's not what he is. I love the age that they made him because he was grown enough that he would have been considered a warrior. Like, he was a hunter.
He was
And
a
he
hunter,
was
yeah.
a fully capable person, right? It's not like he came to this place and he was 16 and this is where he grew. Like, there's clear memories. And the amount of times I have been talking to, whether it was living in the States or living in the UK, and people who are immigrants there and saying, yeah, back in my country, I was a doctor, a dentist of some kind of something. And now here I have to go all through medical school again, or I have to
Mhm.
go through everything else again. And now I have to work this job until I get there. And even then, it's going to be expensive and hard. And it is just very fascinating where it's like, yes, Iona, you had it bad, but you did not have it the worst.
Yeah.
And that's like a brutal honesty that I think that a lot of people really need to accept, is that there are people who have it worse than you.
Yeah. Yes,
There will
always.
always be someone who has it worse than you. That shouldn't take away from your pain. I think people should, allow themselves to say, wow, what I went through was really hard. That was really traumatic. That's unfortunate.
What I liked about both of them is their willingness to talk about their differences.
Yeah.
And they didn't always agree, and they did fight, and they
Hmm.
did have to apologize to each other, but there isn't enough of that
Yeah.
in this world, and I'm really glad ML Wong put it on the page, because I think we need more examples in our media that shows people who have differences and who disagree
Yeah.
can have relationships, can be friends, can have conversation, and learn not how to be like the other person, but learn to understand the other person.
I'm going to have a slight different perspective on that. I think that what was learned was empathy. And that is something that is kind of only a one direction learning. Now, Tommel learned to understand Siona,
Mhm.
of saying, "Oh, look, she's trying," like, "All
Mhm.
right," like, there's some things, but what Siona had was more like, she had more learning to do. And so what I liked about them challenging each other is that Siona had a lot more to be challenged than Tommel did.
Yeah.
Tommel's not innocent, he's not perfect. He was much more content to not necessarily push the status quo. Like, he doesn't like what's happening to the Quinn, but he also doesn't know what to do with it.
Mhm.
He doesn't wanna take up that responsibility or the mantle, and you can say, as shitty decisions as Siona made, at least she was trying to do something. Who knows? Like, Tommel didn't really propose another solution.
Right. He had been beaten down enough that he was a pacifist.
Yeah, and I wish Siona had inspired more
Mm.
than anything but that comes back to her selfishness, right? Like, she was so busy being in her own head that it didn't inspire Tommel, and she wasn't willing to listen to him either.
Yeah, it's true.
Every time they talked about, like, his forearms or, like, his punch or something like that, I was like, "Yeah, talk about it again."
You know what? Speaking of these two, I want to talk about their dynamic towards the end of the book and the fact that there's a moment where Siona kind of implies, this might be my last night alive.
They boned.
No, they don't.
I know, but in my heart, they did. They kiss.
They kiss, but they don't go any further, even though Siona opened the door to be like, I don't have to be a proper lady anymore. We could,
I know.
I don't want to die a virgin is what she was signaling, but not saying. And I really appreciated actually that ML Wong didn't go there.
Same, because not everything can be cured with sex. I think what it was about that point is that I had also come to accept that there is no world where they could work.
Right.
Too much hurt and too much of Siona not willing to give up parts of her privileged world.
Mm-hmm.
There wasn't going to, I mean, it was very sad because, like, at a certain point I had to accept, I'm like, I don't think this is going to end the way that I'm hoping this ends.
Mm-hmm.
And then once I got on board with that, I was thinking more along the lines of, like, yeah, they were never like, I think it was around then that I kind of accepted that this, like, the fate of this book was going somewhere else, because it's like, I cannot imagine them together. Now I want them to kiss and, maybe a little bit more, but their worlds and the fracture between them is so broken. And Siona was never willing to make that leap. And Tommel was too afraid to make that leap too, that it would not have worked. Like for both of them, society would have been too much of an issue.
Right. And it's not like they were going to leave Tehran and go out and live in the mountains and they were going to build a new city. That wasn't what was going to happen. And maybe if it was a different author, maybe they would have tried. But
ML knew what she had to do.
she knew what she had to do. And what I like about where this novel went, I don't know if that was her intention from the beginning.
Yeah.
And maybe it was, but at a certain point, what's happened can't be undone. You would have to write a completely different story to take them somewhere else.
And truly, and I think that's like one of the best themes of this book. What happened can't be undone. Good intentions that go wrong, it can't be undone.
Yep.
The horrible treatment of people can't be undone. And that within itself almost seems like such a depressing concept, right? Thinking that, well, what's the point then if nothing can be undone? And the point is that just because things can't be undone doesn't mean that you can't make things done. You know, you can't start anew.
Right.
But rather than focusing on that, Siona was too busy trying to undo things. And it's just like, you can't undo things. I do want to shift a little bit. We touched on it, but I love how the religion was formed and that they were justifying not just justifying, but the way that magic was related to it and the way that they pulled from the Quinn's religion and their because like magic is essentially religion, right? And the mages and everything, like they're essentially not their gods, but they're like almost like prophets or something.
They're like bishops or cardinals or, you know.
And then the ones who die, they're very like saint, like they have like a sainthood,
very
right?
saintly. Yeah.
I love the system. I love that, like how magic is so integrated into the system, the justification of like, well, no, we were the ones who got it. And they're like, okay, but you got it from the Quinn. Well, because we knew how to take care of it. I've heard that so much when it comes to the British Museum. It's like, you guys should give that back. And then it's like, but we've taken care of it and we take better care of it than other.
They would have let it fall to ruin.
Yeah. And it's like, no. And then the fact that they appropriate some of the religion and put it into their religion. Like every Christmas, I love to remind my mom that the only reason why Christmas is chosen on that day is for pagan religious reasons. Like, because it's a pagan holiday.
Yes.
I love reminding her that. Like, it's, you know, a lot of the traditions we have, pagan traditions.
That were appropriated.
Yeah.
By the religions we follow today.
Yeah. So it's like, I just loved, like you talk about the East and West, but then even within let's just call it just flat out West, that's some bullshit that's happened within this area too.
Absolutely. There is the theme of stealing the parts of other people's history or culture that you like, repurposing it and saying it's a gift from God or that you're the originator, you're the original thinker who came up with this.
Yep.
Feeding that lie to people who are gullible enough to eat that lie and then spawning a society over the course of hundreds of years who don't know how to think anything else.
Because why wouldn't they think that they're the chosen ones, that they get this special life because they're the blessed ones? Well, you know, the Quinn are suffering because God wanted that. You know what I mean? Like, no, like, of course, you don't have to think too hard because religion and God told you that. And if you were to ignore it and you ignore God, then you're suddenly doing critical thinking and it challenges what you've been taught.
Exactly. And they can avoid critical thinking and avoid any guilt because they were told by God that the life of the Quinn and, you know, everything else around them is theirs for the taking, is theirs for the harvesting to fuel their society.
What I loved about this concept is that it's not a question of whether God exists or not. God can exist entirely. She's not saying God is bad. What it is the folly of men.
Yes.
And that the men are the ones who've adapted it. And I can argue all day about modern religion and how that's taken because of men. And that is essentially what we're seeing here. Like, it's not a question, does God exist? Well, we don't have the answer to that. Is God bad or evil or anything? We don't have the answer to that. But do you know who was the one who manipulated everything and chooses to manipulate the quote unquote message of God in this world?
Men.
The men, the mages.
And it's men because they did not allow women to be part of it.
Yeah.
Right? So I say men because it was men. And I love the book ending of the fact that the best magic was done by Quinn mothers who wanted to protect
Yeah.
their families.
Yep.
And the only person who's able to replicate it is a woman. Granted, it's for selfish reasons.
Yep.
But the genderedness of that
Mhm.
felt important. And the fact that as the years went by and the different leaders came about, they built in protections to protect and hide the truth
Yeah.
so that the lie could persist forever.
Yep. If you want to take it, and, I don't want to get into the nitty gritty because I also don't know enough, but like Mary Magdalene. Oh,
I was going to just say the many translations of the Holy Bible.
no, I mean, I agree with that. And that's where I'm going with Mary Magdalene. Like, there's a lot of people say that there's been the book according to, and how much the fact of what's picked and chosen to go in there, and, how Mary Magdalene is so, again, picked and chosen, how she's represented. And, people love to be like, no, but this is the Bible and this is how it was made. Where do you think it all came from? It, like, a lot of people were writing things, the book according to, and yet the Bible was crafted in a way that excludes women. The Catholic Church, where Christianity started, Catholic and Orthodox, like, it's kind of the same thing, but like same time. But like, that is where Christianity started, excluded women for a reason. The Bible was shaped in many ways for a reason. The amount of times I've seen things now where it's like, the translation of this doesn't actually mean what you're thinking it means.
Exactly. Depending on if they translated it from German or Greek or, whatever.
I mean, even the way, like, ancient Hebrew, you know what I mean? Like,
Right.
we're constantly understanding what translations mean more. And you're telling me that I'm supposed to trust this King James, that era over there, to understand like that if they get a translation, they're gonna be like, ooh, shit. The word here is wife. I'm gonna go with whore. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah. I
you
feel
know,
like that's more appropriate. It was men choosing
yeah.
how to convey a message.
And the message continued to not have women involved. That's why you don't have women in leadership within the Catholic Church.
Yep.
And the fact that I can see that within this book in an entirely unique way is chef's kiss.
Yes.
It's not a clear-cut copy-paste, you're representing Catholic Church, religion, or anything. She created an entirely different system, but same things kind of happen.
Yeah, and the fervor is the same.
Yeah. It was very impressive. Like, to not only have impressive story, to not only have, like, not just impressive, but like morally where you end up questioning, like, am I choosing right? And then you have characters that you're also, am I choosing right? But then to build this world, magical realism, this incredible, detailed, elaborate world is fucking incredible.
Yeah, I mean, and to accomplish it all in one book.
It's a standalone.
It's a masterpiece. Like,
Yeah.
I just don't know.
I just saw your brain break.
My brain is broken because I skimmed some of our listener responses to our question.
Yeah.
And I'm sure if I go to Goodreads, I'm going to see a lot of similar criticisms of this book. And my brain is broken because this book is
Incredible.
incredible.
At one point, I think I was reading this a little faster than you for the first time ever. And there was a moment where I had a process of like, oh, the climax, there's going to be a climax and then there's an after climax. And this is, because it's a standalone, it follows a very traditional structure. And get off on that shit. I love a traditionally structured book.
And I feel like I haven't read one of those in a really long time.
Because it's a standalone and it has to follow that structure. Because we're not going into another book, it has to be tied. You have to have that conclusion. You have to like ease me back down. There is no, here's a hard cut ending. This is where it, this is where it's ending. So at a certain point, I think I can't remember, but I said something along the lines to you of like, this is still going. The climax is going. And I have so many hours left because it has to conclude at one point.
Oh, yeah. You did FaceTime me at one point being like, I have an hour left and I just have to put off the anxiety a little bit longer.
Yeah. Yeah. So do we want to look into some listener thoughts?
Sure.
Okay. So let's go over what people liked. Someone says everything, 10 out of 10, no notes. Read audio and loved the narrator. Yeah, the narrator did a fan-freaking-tastic job.
She did a fantastic job.
The same person says Tommel, everything Tommel.
So someone did say, the FMC fighting her way into a male-dominated world and blowing them all away. If you know, you know.
I just caught what she said. That's actually fucking funny. Wait a minute.
Hilarious.
That is hilarious. That took me a second there, but I'm here with you. That was good.
I do appreciate that before her final act, she calls out her father, who's the city councilman, in front of all the leaders. That was chef's kiss for me.
There was something about reading this and calling out her biological father and having a bad biological father that then kind of came in a very interesting, timely manner.
Yeah,
for me,
I know.
in a very opposite way. I was like prepared to go this route. Anyway, it's been a confusing week for me, guys. It's a great week, but does the concept so much better than Babel, less hand-holding, more self-reflection? I did not read Babel because it was like...
Babel is the only audiobook I've started and was like, I can't finish this.
It just was too dense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I hear good things about it, but...
Same. Not for me. Someone says the pain and suffering it caused me. Under good.
Someone else said, I loved the pacing, the fact that it's a standalone, the world building, the audio was great.
Yeah. Someone also says, themes, character, magic system, it all felt fresh and unique. It really, really did. The themes are, I think, she covered themes that people are too uncomfortable to talk about.
Yeah, and what I love about the magic system is it takes a concept we already understand, but makes it magic.
Yeah.
Right? Takes computer coding.
Yep.
It's basically a DOS system, which is what the early computers were.
Yeah.
And then makes that magic. And I'm like...
And like anyone can do it if you're just smart.
Yeah, if you just learn the code. And I think that's brilliant.
Oh, there's a couple people who are saying that it's better than Babel.
Oh, really?
Oh, no, it was the same person.
It's the same person.
All right. Was that all the positives?
Yep, that's it.
All right, let's go into some negatives. How frustrating the FMC was when the MMC was sharing his past and what the blight really was.
Yeah, it was frustrating, but is that not a normal reaction for someone whose beliefs are being challenged for the first time?
I mean, yeah, the times that she kept referencing God and what God taught them and what everything, and like, this is religion. Yours is wrong. Like there was a religious fervor here.
Mm-hmm.
It was religious blindness. And now everything is being challenged. No one's going to listen to that completely openly and saying, yeah, okay.
Yeah, no.
It's frustrating, as it should be.
Right. That's the whole point. Someone said, unsure if there's a sequel, ending was left open for one. You know, I actually really loved the way that it ended for Tommel because he left the Quinn lands with no hope. And now he's returning with hope for the first time.
Yeah.
And with a community, like I loved the moment that Kira said, come on, Auntie, I'll take the baby. You get up and let's keep running, right? It was so symbolic of people who are based in community, and I don't know you, but I want you to survive, and we're all in this together.
Immediate community. Immediate, we're family, we're here, we're getting out of here together.
Yeah.
It definitely hit you over the head with the politics. Not really a bad thing, though. If you don't want to read something that's going to kind of hit you over the head with it, but I think it's healthy for us to have that.
Yeah.
I think it's good for us to be smacked around.
Someone said, it took forever to get to the fucking point. It's so slow. Also, disliked the magic system, and to be honest, the whole book.
You do you, boo.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think if people aren't vibing, one, it's a classic structure.
Yeah.
We are trained in a world of trilogies, more than trilogies, finally getting a little bit more duologies, but we are trained in a world that we're not used to a classic book structure. And I can see if people find that to be slow at points.
Yeah. And to some extent, novels up until the last few decades have always been standalones,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? That was when you talk about the great American novel, it's because it's a novel
Yeah. You don't say the Great American Novel series.
series, right? Right. Series is a product in some ways of capitalism.
Yeah. No, I love how I said that's Twilight and you didn't even you kind of like, whatever. I'm not even
Sorry.
addressing that. No, it's okay. I was like, I want to know. I said Twilight. No. Yeah. And if that's just not what you're vibing, then that's just not what you're vibing.
Yep.
Social commentary was great, but maybe over explain / spoon fed to us. Sometimes some of the best works are when it's spoon fed, in my personal opinion. Someone said that they compared it to Babel and that Babel was this one was more self-reflective. Maybe that's
Mhm.
the spoon fed part.
Yeah.
Maybe that's the difference of spoon feeding. I don't know because I never finished Babel.
I think what this did is it walked a very fine line of allowing those who knew what it was doing to enjoy it while still trying to explain it to the people who don't see it for the parable that it is.
Yeah, because someone else says this book was a real thinker and had something to say. I'm not sure if I fully grasped it all.
Exactly. I think
Yeah.
this book was trying to find a middle ground that could play to a spectrum of understandings and
Yes.
people and perspectives and experience. And those who know.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, maybe it's over explained. But for those who maybe for the first time are being asked to think really hard about themselves, about society, about
Yeah.
these themes, this could be really hard to grasp.
Yeah. And I think also when you have the people where, if like we picked it up very quickly. I think you can find joy, and I really do like a book that says, here are my themes, I'm going to explain it. I'm going to go into it. We read another book this season. What was it? I can't remember. Maybe it was Hunger Games, where it's just like, hey, here are my topics, and I'm going to do this.
Yeah, I mean, but I also feel like A Forbidden Alchemy by Stacey McEwen
Yeah.
had very similar vibes.
I think maybe because we just reviewed part 2 of Hunger Games, but I think there's something about where Suzanne Collins says okay, well, here's my themes.
Yeah.
I'm not shying away from it. And I think that that's refreshing. I don't necessarily need my themes to if you're going to make it obvious,
Lean in.
lean into it. And I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily need me to slowly discover a theme and, have to read 3 pages over and over again to be that's what you're doing. It's
Mhm.
no, you're going to do it. You're going to be loud about it. I'm all right with that. And then, like you said, it's a middle ground because there's people who didn't understand it.
Yeah.
Overall, fantastic book.
Yeah. Going back to something I said or alluded to at the start, among the most poignant poignant moments for me in this book is when her mentor has spirited her away from the jail
Yeah.
so that she can spend her last night in his home before she goes basically to her execution. And he has offered to write her last words to her family. And she goes through this mental process of trying to understand him and trying to understand why she still cares that he's disappointed. What does he think he's accomplishing? Why does he even want to do this?
Yep.
And that at the end of the day, she realizes we are both selfish and we just enact it in different ways. And for him, it's about using her for his salvation to make up for all his crimes.
Yep.
and her realizing I am selfish, but I'm really going to make us make up for our crimes.
Yeah, their dynamic was so interesting. I mean, the fact that she wanted him to break, right? And to show that cruel side. And then that he is like, she is his salvation. But then at the same time, he is her freedom and redemption, like, a way to
Mhm,
prove herself.
mhm.
And she still needed his approval. And even to the bitter end, like when she's being sentenced for death, she still looks at him and to see him crying and the fact that he did vote against her. And then he's looking at her for forgiveness. Like they are still looking to one another.
Yeah, and he's looking to her to beg for forgiveness so that he can be redeemed, so that
Yeah.
he didn't bring a quote unquote sociopath, that he didn't choose
Yeah.
the woman that would destroy it all.
Yeah. I really liked their relationship.
I really did too.
I think that was the one that made me feel the most uncomfortable
Mhm.
was when it was those final scenes when he brought her to his house and he's just taking care of her and he's like, at that point, he truly thinks that she can survive this, saying, "Hey,
Mhm.
go in, grovel.
You're gonna come out.
You'll
Yeah.
be fine." Because honestly, they probably would have preferred they publicity speaking, they would have preferred a groveling woman saying, "You guys, I made a mistake. Turns out women don't deserve to be here. My bad.
Yeah, I'll abdicate or whatever it is.
I'm gonna go start a family now."
Yeah, I've found the magic cock that's gonna redeem me and
Right?
impregnate me, and I'll be fine.
All hail the magic cock. Yeah. Yeah. So their dynamic was toxic to the end.
Yeah. But it doesn't come across that way in the beginning.
No.
In the beginning, it's like, wow, there's one good man in the world.
And then we get that's taken away from us. But then Tommel becomes the one good man in the world.
Yeah, but he's not perfect.
No. But I mean, it is one of those horrible moments of like, at least there's one good one. There's one good guy.
No.
It's like, of course, there's like, then you take that away too. There are good men out there, but I think that what it shows us is that you have Tommel, who is flawed, but he is a good guy.
Mhm.
And good men are just like good women. Flawed. Absolutely flawed. And that's okay. I loved that even towards the bitter end, Siona was still impressed with her own skills. And she even is kind of like, I know this isn't great, but like kind of bomb, like kind of killer. Like this is awesome.
Yeah, yeah. Although her last thought is about hoping
Yes.
Tommel and Kira
Get out.
get out and are safe.
She's redeemed in the only way she could have been redeemed. Once again, I learned nothing, was doing my makeup as Tommel and his niece are watching her be blown up. Why do I keep doing this to myself? I will never know. And yeah, and I just keep I was like, what am I doing right now? That was really hard and sad to see. And like the fact that his niece starts crying and
Mhm.
yeah, that one was beautiful. It was sad.
Yeah. It was perfection.
If you guys haven't read this and you're just listening, or if you did read it and you didn't like it, I'd suggest give it another whirl.
Yeah.
Or give it a whirl.
Or yeah. I might write a Substack post about I am Siona.
I think you should. And you guys should subscribe to our Substack. We have a lot of really interesting articles coming out. I did a whole thing on dark romance and women who are acting on predatory natures. And then at one point, I'm like, am I holding women at too high of a standard?
No.
And I was like, well, considering the fact that in 2019, 93% of sex offenders were male and 6% were women, no. I think I even write, excuse me for holding my gender to a higher standard when those are the stats.
Yeah.
So yeah, if you want to read more, go to our Substack.
The subtextsocietyjournal.substack.com.
Love you guys.
Pew, pew, pew.
Thank you for listening to this week's episode of Book Talk for Book Talk with Jack and Amy. We encourage you to rate and subscribe to our show on your preferred podcast listening platform. Stick around next week where we're discussing The Red Queen by Victoria Aveyard.
We would love to hear your thoughts based on today's conversation. If you would like to submit your take on any of the books we plan to discuss later this autumnish, please be sure to follow us on Instagram where we ask for listener submissions.
If you're enjoying the podcast, please visit our website, booktalkforbooktalk.com, to view our latest merch and learn about supporting the show through Patreon or Venmo. You can also follow us on TikTok, Instagram, or YouTube at the handle Book Talk for Book Talk.
Bye.